Hello, welcome to Finishing Touch. My name is Riley James. This is the State Soccer Network, and more specifically, the State Soccer Network YouTube. Today's guest is the 20th overall pick in the 2018 MLS SuperDraft out of SMU to the Houston Dynamo, goalkeeper Michael Nelson.
Hey, thanks for having me. Pumped to be here.
Yeah, man. Obviously the 20th overall pick in that draft. Staying in Texas. Was that a big deal to you?
Yeah, it was. I think it's a really special thing, and the draft, you don't really realize how random it could end up being until you're in the middle of it, and you sort of hear about some teams that might be interested in you. And I remember I was watching the draft at home, out in Katy with my mom and my girlfriend at the time. And I remember the picks were getting to like kind of 15 through 20, and it was geographically all over the place. Like it was like Vancouver, then New York, then Seattle, then Houston, then Columbus. And I was like, this is sort of the range like I think I could go. And none of those are near each other really like whatsoever, aside from like Vancouver and Seattle. And once it made it to Houston, and that was the selection, that was really cool. And I'm happy to be a part of a team that I used to go to the games at Robertson Stadium back in the day, and have seen the club grow. So it's exciting to be a part of that going forward.
Right. I asked Sam Junka that same question of like, hey, did you really have any expectation of where to go? Were you worried that you're going to have to like move to this random place you knew nothing about? And it's such a toss up. It's so weird
Yeah.
how drafts work. And for you to end up back in Texas was, it's got to be a really cool thing. Being like you said, growing up in Katy, going to those games. How special was it when you actually heard the name Michael Nelson attached to the Dynamo?
It was great. It's funny because there was a little bit of spoiler because I was watching the stream online, and I guess it was like 2 or 3 minutes behind reality. And so I was watching it, and it was still on the 19th pick. And then I started to get a few texts from people that were actually at the draft. I got tagged in a few things on Twitter. It was like, I'm going to Houston. And so when the pick actually came up, like they were walking up to announce it, I was like, oh, it's gonna be me. It kind of takes the suspense out of it. But yeah, it was great. And I had, the opportunity to train with Houston a few times in that off season going into that draft, and I'd met some of the staff, and felt good that, it'd be a nice fit personality wise, and a place that I could grow. So it was, I was really happy that that was the selection.
The biggest social media sites make billions of dollars each year. Carve out your own piece of that money with Social Titans. They create a social media website for the specific niche that you are passionate about. Packages include a new website, courses, community access, and other resources to start growing your new website and sell advertising, just like the big social media sites. Go to socialtitansnetwork.com today and learn how you can join our community of social titans. So to be able to be picked 20th overall means you were pretty good in college. Let's talk about SMU a little bit. 76 appearances, 27 clean sheets. That's pretty good. American Athletic Conference Goalkeeper of the Year a couple times. Can you talk about SMU and maybe how you ended up in Dallas and kind of the recruitment process to even get you to that point?
Yeah, so mine's going to be a little bit of an unorthodox story. I feel like a lot of the guys I talked to are like, yeah, I was, ranked second overall in my state. I was highly recruited. I had like 10 offers, but I was a little bit of a late bloomer, and actually didn't have any Division I offers when I was a senior in high school. And I had a few Division II and some things like that. And I didn't know if I was going to play or not. And then I'd actually applied to University of Texas and got in, and I was going to study engineering there, and had a roommate picked out, had put down the housing deposit, like had taken pictures with UT shirts on and stuff. And I was fully committed to that, and was about to not play college soccer. And then my high school coach reached out to the SMU coach and said, hey, I've got a kid who's maybe a little bit raw, but if you give him some time to develop, just see how he is. Like, I think you might have something there. And so the coach reached back out and was like, hey, we can't really guarantee you anything, but if you want to just show up, try to work your way onto the squad, be kind of a practice guy for a little bit, and we'll see how things shake out. Because I had already got into SMU as just kind of like regular admissions process. And so I showed up day one. We had 5 keepers at the time. I was 5th out of 5, just kind of like a walk-on situation. And the starter my first year was a senior who was the captain. He was a really good player, and a great guy too. Someone that was awesome to learn from, and was really, really accessible with questions, and welcomed me and kind of helped me build my confidence and stuff. So that way, when he graduated and moved on, it was kind of an open competition for the 4 of us that were still there. And I had a good spring season and was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to start the following year, and kind of just ran with it. And I had my 4 years of eligibility still since I'd redshirted that first year, and ended up just starting for 4 years and putting together a solid collegiate career that allowed me the opportunity to get drafted. So I took a little bit of the scenic route, and maybe not the most direct path that some guys take, but just because I was a little bit of a kind of a late bloomer, that I just was someone that found my footing in the game when I was 18, 19 rather than 15, 16. So I'm happy that's the path I've taken, because I've kept that hunger with me that I had my first year in college this whole time, and feel like I've always got to kind of keep that chip on my shoulder and that motivation to keep getting better.
So this show is meant for 13 to 17-year-olds, or really 12 and up, trying to be the best soccer player that they can be. And the fact that you were not even going to play college soccer, and now you're an MLS first round draft pick who is competing for a starting job this year, like that's an incredible aspect of your story. And I want to touch on that for a little bit. It wasn't actually in my notes, but that's journalism. uh you going and being that fifth goalkeeper on the squad. Goalkeeper, there's only one of those that
Hmm.
play in a game. You know that better than anyone else. To go from the fifth to being the guy for 4 years, mentally to show up, that's got to be really tough. How'd you get over that? And like you said, how'd you stay that hungry for that many years?
Well, the thing is, I always played because I loved it. I never played out of obligation or because of pressure of friends or family. I think my dad was actually a basketball player, and I'm sure he would have preferred me to have played basketball. But neither of my parents or any of my siblings ever played soccer. It was just something that I sought out and that I loved. I played a few other sports growing up, but I always found my most joy when I was playing soccer. And so it never felt like a burden to me. Going to practice never felt like, oh, I've got practice tonight. Like I relished every opportunity I got to be on the field, and it was a place where I just really enjoyed myself. So when I found the opportunity to go to SMU, and they were straight up with me. They weren't like, "Hey, you're going to come in. It's going to be sunshine and daisies all day, and it's not going to be too hard for you." They were like, "It might stink. You might work really hard, and then still just not be quite good enough, and we might have to move on or whatever. But we're going to give you the chance." And I said, "That's great. I'm going to do everything I can to stick with that." And so each day, I knew my first year was going to be a little bit of a grind, like you said. There's only one guy for the most part, um, and so I knew my job was going to be to practice as hard as I could. Help make the attackers better, be a hard guy to beat, learn as much as I could, absorb feedback. Obviously the staff are going to tell me what I need to work on, what I need to get better on, and so I just kind of focused in on those things. Um, I was really like lanky and kind of physically underdeveloped when I got into, so I spent a lot of time in the gym, just kind of building my athleticism and my explosiveness and just like general athletic durability. But yeah, I mean, I just loved it, man. Like I didn't really complain about it. There were days where after practice, the starter or the first two guys, they would only just do a few reps, and then the strikers would still want to do shooting. And so they'd be like, "All right, Mike, jump in there. We're going to do shooting for 30 minutes." And I would just be diving around all over the place. But those were my opportunities to get better. That was my time to see live shots. That was my time to impress people by making saves. And so, I love those opportunities, and I built great relationships along the way. I think there's like mutual respect between guys that have taken that type of path. And I think when I was able to get the starting job, I had kind of earned respect of a lot of the guys that were on the team, and it put me in a good position of having mutual trust, and that's an important foundation going into things. Being able to play. There's like technical and tactical chemistry that you have with guys, but kind of that unspoken trust and belief in the guy next to you is just as big of a deal, if not bigger. So, my first year was a great time to build that and lay that foundation. So yeah, it was a grind for sure, but I loved it, and I wouldn't change anything about it.
Let's talk about risk assessment. So you are fully ready to go at the University of Texas, taking photos with the UT shirt on, and
Mhm.
all of a sudden you throw away that plan to go to Dallas to pursue this opportunity. It seems like you're pretty well set up down in Austin. How did everyone around you respond to this very great plan of going to the University of Texas and just kind of pushing that off to the side and going to Dallas to play soccer? Like, did you feel any of the pressure to kind of uphold your side of that deal?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I mean, my dad went to University of Texas. My brother went there too, and so it was going to be like kind of the third generation Nelson that goes to UT or whatever, but I think that it was something that I didn't want to leave, or I never wanted to live with maybe the what if, like, what if I had gone there and seen how it shook out? And, it did give me comfort too that SMU is also a good school in its own right. I didn't feel like I was throwing away a good academic opportunity and maybe foregoing that for something that was kind of a toss up. Like I felt like I was still going to be in a good place. Um, but yeah, it was a tough decision for sure, but I think I just didn't wanna live with that what if in my head. I was like, "I need to give it its fair shot, and if it doesn't shake out, then I know that, that maybe just wasn't the path for me, and maybe I could transfer back into UT," but I wanted to make sure that I gave it its fair shake and put my best foot forward, and if I could, look myself in the eye and say, I've tried my best and that just wasn't for me. I think UT was going to be there for me if I wanted to transfer back to it. But yeah, I fell in love with the campus at SMU. I love Dallas. I know that's tough for Houston people to say, and they usually don't want to admit it, but I liked Dallas, and it was a good setup. Had a lot of good friends and um, lifelong friends. Got married a few weeks back actually, and I had one of my teammates was my officiant, and I had 12 or 14 other guys there, and so they're lifelong friends that I'll always hold close. So yeah, it was certainly tough, but I didn't necessarily feel like it was a risky decision. I think my parents encouraged me, and my friends that I'd played with were like, "Yeah, dude, give it a shot. Just see how it goes, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But at least you know."
Yeah, I think it worked out. The couple things there. One, I saw the wedding photos in your Instagram. Congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome,
you.
man.
Thank you.
And two, the fact that not only do you love Dallas, but you're ready to go move to Austin. Sure, Houston people don't love those two things about you, but nevertheless, you get drafted by Houston, you get sent down to USL. Obviously, that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of players to be able to be drafted by an MLS franchise and then sit down to USL. Your debut, however, was a clean sheet against Phoenix. Can you talk about kind of the moment where you stepped onto the field as a professional for the first time and what that meant to you?
Yeah, I didn't see it as really a hard pill to swallow. I was fortunate the setup we had with RGV at the time. We're no longer directly affiliated with them, but at the time it's almost like, the like baseball teams have got AAA where you can just get like the weekend assignments where you go play a game. And so I had it was a great thing for me where I trained with Houston, Monday to Friday, and I'd fly out Friday night, play a game Saturday, and fly back Sunday morning. So I was gone out of town for 36 hours. Would play a game, get to come back and train with the first team all week again. So it was a great setup for me where during the week I'd train at a really high level with the team and get to be around some top guys, and then kind of just go demonstrate that I'm improving, that I'm absorbing information, that when I'd play a game and I'd come back, we'd analyze things and say, here's what I want to see next game out of you. You need to do this a little better, whatever the case may be. And next game I'd go out and I'd try to do that and showcase that. And so I really just saw it as kind of an opportunity to demonstrate that I was improving and try to help RGV as much as I could when I was down there, help them win games, help them, get points, whatever that was. And so it was cool because I got to build relationships with guys from both teams. I had good friends on RGV and obviously good friends in Houston. And so getting to play between the two, I got to meet a ton of guys that way. But yeah, that first game I was really excited because I had trained maybe a month and a half with Houston and had a little bit of a shoulder injury that kept me out for another month. And so I was supposed to play a game a little bit earlier than that Phoenix one, and I got hurt like the week leading up to it. And so that got put on the back burner for a little bit. And so I was kind of irritated, like pushing through my rehab. I was like, let's go, let's go, let's go. But Paul Rogers, the goalkeeper coach at the time, was like, listen, we're not going to make you play your first game until you're healthy. We don't want you going out there at 75% and not looking your best. It's not going to help anybody that way. And so we took time till I was fully fit, went back down there, and I felt really sharp going into the game. And we didn't win the game, but obviously a clean sheet is my objective always. And if that helps the team win, then that's obviously the best thing. But yeah, Phoenix was a good team. And I remember before I was going down there, the coaches were like, all right, you're probably going to get peppered this game. Like Phoenix is pretty good. So go do your best and, we'll see you Monday. And yeah, I wasn't too busy that game, but yeah, I had to make a few saves and it was just a great feeling. It's, you train all those days so that you can perform well in games and it's really fulfilling when you do. And so it was a really good, opportunity and I'm glad it went the way it went for sure.
Brief interruption. We are looking for advertisers for the State Soccer Network website and the app. You can advertised to over 2,000 daily users on StateSoccerNetwork.com and the SSN app. Plans start at $30 a month, but mention our show in the email and you will get 1 month of that free. Contact statessoccernetwork@gmail.com for more information. And back to the show. Hey, good luck. See you on Monday. That's a great line. Yeah. Moving to 2020. Obviously a tough year, for the entire globe. You were with the first team the whole year. No appearances. You sat behind, some great goalkeepers. But what did 2020 teach you in a year of inactivity?
Yeah, I think with so many variables in 2020, on the field, off the field stuff, I think what got me through it was just controlling the controllables for me. There's so many things that were out of all of our hands, especially at the very beginning when we didn't have as much information about how widespread and how long-term coronavirus was going to be. And I don't think any of us at the time, when we first got shut down, I think late March it was, we were like, all right, this will be a week. And then a week turned to 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks turned to a month. And then they were like, earliest we're playing is July. And, it just keeps getting further and further out. And so it was, running around in your backyard to get your fitness in. It was kicking a ball off the brick wall, just doing whatever you can. And I think I just controlled what I could control. I knew we were all going through a lot of kind of crazy, abnormal things. And, specifically on the goalkeeping side of it, the preseason was kind of an interesting shakeup where it was going to be Marko Maric was going to be the starter. And then I was supposed to be the 2. And then we had another that was the 3rd. And then they ended up letting that guy go and brought in Cody Cropper. And he ended up slotting in as the 2, and it bumped me to the 3. And that was a difficult thing as well because of COVID, they weren't allowing loans between USL and MLS. Like if you were loaned, it was supposed to be season long. I couldn't do my weekend assignments where I play a game, come back, play a game, come back. And so they were like, you're not going to get to play USL games this year because we need you here. And so I was like kind of caught in the place where I was like, I want to play games. And if that's not here, then it would have to be elsewhere. But if I go elsewhere, there's no coming back during 2020. And so I was like, I can either kind of wallow and sorry, I just got a call.
Oh, you're good.
I was like, I could either sort of sulk and let this year be somewhat of a wasted year, or I can push myself as much as I can, knowing that I may or may not get games, and just focus on showing as best I can. And obviously people see how well you play in games, and that's, the most important part of it. You'd rather have a guy that practices okay and then shows up amazing in games than a guy that's phenomenal in practice but doesn't show up in games. But knowing that I didn't have games, I had 5 days a week still to impress people and 5 days a week to show that I was getting better. And so I just took each day to train as hard as I could and as well as I could, knowing that at the end of the year, when they're evaluating what the goalkeepers are going to look like going forward, I wanted to make myself indispensable. I wanted them to look at me and be like, this is a guy that we don't want to let go. Although he didn't play games this year, we want this guy in our plans going forward. And so best way I could do that was just to keep grinding and trying to check the boxes that I still needed to check and improve in areas that they needed me to improve, and just put myself in a good position for 2021. Still not knowing what that would look like, because we got to the end of 2020 and things weren't all that different than they were in March of 2020. But I think that mindset got me through 2020 and put me in a good spot for the beginning of last year.
I know that was more of a downer question. So did you go to Orlando for that tournament?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Can you give me your best Orlando story? The one that you can share, because I know that was a wild time.
Yeah, gosh, I don't even. It was like 3 weeks, but it felt like we were there for like 3 or 4 months. Like it was crazy. There's so much time in your hotel room. I remember all the hand sanitizer smelled like tequila, and you would just get like nauseous in the hallway. Like it was crazy. When we first showed up, it's like a 24-hour quarantine. We've all got rooms to ourselves because we can't have roommates while we're there. And we're all just going in our rooms, poking your head out the balcony to get fresh air. And it was like the first 24 hours were tough. And then, one of the funniest parts too is that while we were there, it's like stormy season. And so, but like Florida storms blow in and out in like an hour. It's sunny all day. And then you get like a tropical storm for 45 minutes. And for some reason, the storm just followed our practice schedule. Like our practice times would shift, but we'd go out at 10 a.m. for training one day, downpour. Like we're hanging out under tents, like can't even finish our practice. So we're going back after like a 30-minute practice and having to come back out in the afternoon. And the next day we're like, all right, it seems to be raining every morning here. Let's go out at 3 p.m. So we go out for a 3 p.m. practice the following afternoon, dumping rain. Like we could not avoid the rain. And it was just like, no matter what time we trained, we could have gone at 2 a.m. There would have been something that blew in. So that was like a tough part of it. Every day we were doing like half a practice, stormed out, went back to the hotel, had to come back later and finish practice. So that part of it was tough. And then I just remember like the crazy like paranoia that was taking place while we were there. There were a few like false positives that we had on the team that ended up not being anything. But I remember when we first got it, they were like, everybody get to your rooms right now. No one's leaving for 24 hours. And we were like, well,
Right.
we're going to get like 7 more and that's going to be the tournament for us. But luckily they were falses. But yeah, I just remember it felt surreal being there. It didn't feel like a real thing. It was just, like a thousand soccer guys all hanging out at Disney. Like where else do you see that? It was kind of wild. And then they had I think like the NBA was not that far away from us either. And we were all
Right.
just
Yeah.
hanging out in Orlando playing sports while the rest of the world's locked down. Like it was just kind of a bizarre, surreal thing, but it was I think we all looked forward to the 2 hours a day that we got to be out of our rooms, which was like going out to the field or going to meals. Cause when we were there, it was just like grab your meal, go to your room, eat, stay away from people. Like the only time you're really out is to go to training or team meetings. And so by the time it was time to go to practice, everyone was like, get me out of here. Like I cannot wait to go to practice. But yeah, it was bizarre, surreal. I don't know what like the best word is for it, but it was a cool experience and one I'll definitely never forget.
Yeah, I got asked to go out there if I wanted to go out there, and I said no. Why, under any circumstance, would I want to go to Orlando to do this for God knows how long?
Yeah,
And then
you're
the
like, if I knew it
quarantine.
was a finite amount of time, like just a 3-day or something, you'd be like, yeah, absolutely. But it was like
Yeah, like,
a month and a
but
half.
I would have to quarantine the 14 days before the 3 days, and then 14 days when I got back. Like, no, I'm not spending 31 days.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not gonna do. I can watch it on TV because
Yeah.
ESPN and Fox do a great job, but
Mhm.
that's besides the point. No, I didn't want to leave 2020 without you know a positive story, something funny from Orlando. But I love the rainy season. That
Oh,
sounds a
yeah.
lot like Houston and
Yeah,
where I
yeah.
live here in Lake Charles.
Yeah, very much so.
A couple more things. 2021, you get to play.
Mhm.
10 straight starts, 11 starts in the year, a couple of clean sheets to be able to play in the first team and get to fill in for an injured Marco Matic. How was that to be able to finally get a chance to play in? Was it PNC Stadium now? It changes every 5 minutes, but
Yeah,
PNC Stadium.
let's see now. Yeah. No, it was great, and I'm trying not to be like cliche or whatever, but it was something that like I knew I was ready for it, and I think there had been a few other opportunities where there were, I think, games where maybe I was up to play and ended up not playing, and like coaches' decisions and things like that. And then when Marco was injured, I was like, all right, this is for sure it, and I'm playing this game, and I was definitely mentally ready for it. And I spoke with the coaches, and I remember they spoke to the field players, and they were like, nothing's going to change. Like we've got full faith in Mike. We're not going to throw an extra defender back there. It's not like we're putting like someone who we're going to be super worried about. They were like, nothing changes, just like plug and play. And that gave me a lot of confidence that they had that faith in me, and that they knew I was ready as much as I knew I was ready. And so I was very confident going into the game, and just felt like this is where all these years, all these 102-degree summer afternoons where we're training, like all that hard work's going to pay off now, and put me in a good spot. And I didn't know how many games it was going to be. I think initially they said, Marco's hurting a little bit too much to play the game. So it's just maybe going to be 1 or 2 games, and we'll see how he's feeling after that. And it ended up being like month and a half, whatever it was, 10 games. But I was just taking it game by game. I wasn't worried about like, okay, I'm going to get 5 games. Like got to play well in this first one. And then like the second and third one, I got to be good. Like, I was just like, I'm just going to play each game. Like this might be the only game I get, and kind of relish each opportunity, not look too far forward, and just focus on what I need to do for each game. And so the first game, I had a couple like kind of a rocky first couple games, just like I hadn't played a game in a year plus, so it was like a little bit maybe a little bit rusty here and there. But once I got my footing and started to make a few saves, feel a lot more comfortable on the ball, communicating well with guys, it was good to build that momentum and got my confidence in a good place, for the home stretch of the season, and was able to put some good games together as well. So that definitely helped the kind of my mindset going into this year, getting that taste and knowing, here's what I'm going to have to keep kind of growing in my game if I want to be a guy that's a starter in this league. I'm going to have to do these types of things better, and it was kind of a great opportunity for me. And obviously, you never like to see your teammates get hurt, and I think Marco had played well to start the year, and it was unfortunate for him. But even when he came back and was healthy, and I got a couple more games, he was really supportive and was a really great teammate. And he's moved on now, but he was a great guy. It'd be really easy in his position to be like, hey, I was playing well, got hurt, and this other guy came in and started playing, and then now that I'm healthy, they're not just popping me right back in. Like I didn't play myself out of the starting job by playing poorly. He's like, I just got hurt. But they gave me a couple extra games when he was healthy just because they thought I had played well. And he handled that extremely well. And then he got to play there at the end of the year again as well, which he'd earned because he'd played well. But yeah, I think the whole setup around me, like my teammates being supportive, the coaching staff having faith in me, and then knowing that I had, the guys in the goalkeeping crew, that includes Kyle Morton, who was here last year as well, were awesome for me and made me feel really confident, comfortable, and like they had my back regardless of what was happening. So it was great to get that.
One last interruption before we finish the show. Finishing Touch is now looking for sponsors. We have 3 ad spots, as you saw today, and 100,000 views to the first 8 episodes of this show. It's only going to get bigger. We thank you so much for the hot start that we've had, and we want to advertise your company in one of those 3 spots. Contact statessoccernetwork@gmail.com for more information, and please enjoy the end of the show. And that sets up a wonderful kind of natural conclusion to this. 2022. We are, as time of recording, sitting about a month away from the start of the season. This comes out the weekend of the game against Salt Lake at PNC or BBVA, whatever. You get it. You have quite the audition tape for the starting job, and you're going into camp, you're competing. Can you walk me through your mindset as you start camp and as you're getting together with the guys under a new coach, under a lot of new things in Houston, to go in and compete for that starting job? What is your mindset for this training camp?
Yeah, it's interesting because, like you said, there's a lot of new pieces in place, and while I may have re-signed this offseason for the same team, it's essentially like being on a new team. We've got new GM, new ownership. Obviously, the owner came last year, but relatively new. And then an entirely new technical staff, new head coach, 2 new assistants, new goalkeeper coach, and so it's essentially like I am on a new team, and I've got to prove myself all over again. And I think you've got to approach each year like that, even if it was rinse and repeat, same staff from last year. I still feel like you've got to come in and prove yourself. Each year, each day. I think, just because you start the first game, that doesn't mean you're guaranteed the second game. Like you've got to earn that with your performances in games and in training. And so that's my mindset is, I've got kind of a blank slate essentially with the new staff and an opportunity to prove myself as a reliable player in person and someone that they can know exactly what they're getting out of. Hopefully those are all good things. That's my job to demonstrate that. So I've been just training as hard as I can, trying to communicate well, make sure that, I'm communicating with the new players. We've got a lot of new guys as well, and making them feel welcome. And, preseason's the time where we're kind of feeling each other out a little bit. You're like, never seen this guy before, that guy, you're learning people's names right before practice sometimes. But I think it's the time to make yourself stand out, both as a player, a leader, a communicator, and a person that's going to help the club, in the long run. So that's been my mindset so far, is just, whatever shakes out will shake out, but it's just my job to put my best foot forward and empty the tank each day.
Michael, you've given us almost a half hour of your time. I could not be more appreciative. Couple things right here at the end, 2 quick questions. One, it's a 2-parter. Your favorite and least favorite goalkeeper kits as far as like the color, because there's some bad ones.
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm like, Adidas, cover your ears. The purple and green ones that they gave us in 2020 were diabolical. Like we we all said we looked like Barney. Like you run around, it's purple with the big green accents.
Oh
Like that
yeah.
one was pretty tough, and not like good tough like some of the young kids say these days. Like it was brutal. That one is probably one of my least favorites. I like basically any dark kit, like a
Yeah.
black or a charcoal or anything like that. We had one. We've had one kind of each of the last 3 years. That's not too different to the hoodie I've got on now. Kind of like a tie dye-ish black and charcoal. That one's rock solid because just nice and simple, classic, sturdy, just a good, dependable jersey. You look up and you go like, that's fine to look at right there. But when you look up and you're like, that goalie is wearing purple and green, there's a lot going on there. Like, I don't really want that to be the reason people remember being like, oh, I remember the guy that looked like Barney and was making saves in there. But yeah, I think anything black, gray, kind of in that like neutral spectrum is usually kind of in my alley for goalkeeper kits.
Yeah, I mean the purple and green might distract the forwards though. So who's to
Yeah,
say that's
could
not
be
a
argument for that.
tactic by Adidas?
Yeah, like the highlighter yellows and stuff like that. There's like two
Yeah,
schools of
that's
thought with it, where it's either like it can be distracting and make you seem bigger and like you're closer to them, but for me, it's also like they can see exactly where you are just in their peripheral vision. Like they can be looking at the ball and know exactly where you are. Whereas if you're wearing like a dark green or like a black or charcoal, sometimes when you play the night games, they're looking down at the ball and they have no idea where you are, and so you could be closer to them, further from them. Like they can't exactly see your positioning. So there's kind of two schools of thought. Some guys are like, I want as bright as colors as possible so that I'm always in their head. And other guys are like, I want the element of ninja sneakiness and I'm going to wear the dark one. So it
right.
is what it is. Like at the end of the day, you're still saving the same ball regardless of what you're wearing. So it's, I'll wear whatever's in my locker when I show up. I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, no, I see the kits over your shoulder.
Mhm.
All the different ones over the years. And then final question, we'll get you out of here on this. How good is Zach Valentine at golf?
I don't know. Has he given you any information on this so far? Has he himself up a little bit?
No, he came on my podcast, if anyone cares, and talked about golf.
Okay. Yeah. No,
But like,
He's great to have on the course. He's for like, I'm sure everyone knows this. Like he gets along with everybody. He's just like an awesome guy, and is actually pretty good for the amount that he like doesn't practice. Like I don't think he really ever goes to the range. Like doesn't hit balls, and he is notorious. I don't know if he shared this with you. He is notorious for being late. Like if we have
oh no,
like an 8:15 tee time, this dude is peeling into the parking lot at 8:14, like sprinting to the first tee. And we've all been there a half hour, had a cup of coffee, like taking some, like been on the putting green, and you can see him flying down like the road into the course. I'm like, oh my goodness, like just wants to be here on time. But
yeah,
no,
but
he's great to have on the course, man. Like playing music, he's just a good vibe. But yeah, I remember the best shot he ever hit, I think, was when he was running so late that the marshal had to give him a ride to like the third tee so he could catch up with us. And he hopped straight out of the cart and just bombed a drive. And I think like birdied the first hole of the day. And I was like, you should start on the third hole every day with us. Just go tee time plus 30 minutes. You can show up.
That's hilarious. Hey, he may show up late, but he's gonna have the dopest golf shoes
That's the thing.
of anyone out there.
Yeah, and I don't think I've seen him wear the same pair twice. And I remember this is kind of a funny story. He got a pair of Jordan golf shoes on a day that we were walking the course. For some reason, they were like, "Hey, it's a great course to walk, real short." We were playing Gus Wortham, that municipal course, kind of in like East Houston. And by the 12th hole, his heels were just like beef jerky. Like the blisters were so bad that he was like walking around on his toes, and like around the 15th or 16th hole, he's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. And he just like took his shoes off and played barefoot for the end. And so his shoe collection, while admirable, can put him at a bit of a disadvantage in the blister category, if it's a day where we're having to walk.
I can't wait to clip this and tag him. That's awesome, man. Michael, thank you so much for the time, man. This was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'll see you in a month.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Thank you. Hi, thank you so much for watching the show. We really do appreciate it here at the State Soccer Network. We also have some socials for you to check out: Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at State Soccer Network. And at the State Soccer Network, we also have a website, statesoccernetwork.com, as you can see right there. It's available in the show description with a direct link to find out how to sign up your local high school soccer team in contests and events to win prizes. We also have an iOS app available in the App Store. Thank you so much for watching the things that we make. It really does mean a lot. And remember the State Soccer Network, a place where you can become the next great American talent.